Are you the hero of your career or the villain of it? I'm not talking just on screen or the kind of roles you want to play. I mean, actually, in real life, in how you're building your career. Here's what I mean. In almost every story, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, the anime I grew up with, Naruto, Dragon Ball, the hero and the villain usually start at the exact same place. Rejected, alone, something taken from them that they never chose to lose. Frodo didn't ask for the ring. Harry Potter didn't ask for his parents to be murdered. Naruto didn't ask to be feared by his whole village before he was even able to talk. Same wounds, basically, as the ones who become the villains in those same stories. The only real difference is how they decide to do it afterwards. And I think that's the actual question underneath a whole career, not just for the stories. The question is not are you talented or are you connected? It's when the industry hurts you, and believe me it will, who do you decide to become on the other side of it? Before we begin, hi, I'm Ivan Mader, and you are on the Act Club podcast. If you love stories, if you love acting, believe me, we're on the same side. So you can hit subscribe and allow notification to help me help you. Okay, let's begin. Before I go further, I want to actually walk through this properly, because this kind of stories is actually much older than any of those movies. And I think that matters. In 1949, a writer named Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. He spent years comparing hero stories from every culture he could find. Greek myth, Norse myth, stories from India, Africa, from indigenous traditions all over the world. And he kept finding the same underlying shape, wearing different clothes each time. He called it the monomyth. One myth told 1,000 different ways, which is where the book's title comes from. He broke that shape into three big phases: departure, initiation, return. Departure is the part where the hero gets pulled out of their normal life. Not by choice, usually. Something happens. A loss, a threat, a call they can't ignore. And the world they knew stops being available to them. Frodo can't stay in the Shire once he has the ring. Luke can't stay a farm boy once his aunt and uncle are killed. Harry can stay ignorant of who he is once Hagrid shows up. There's always a moment where going back to the old life isn't an option anymore. Initiation, it's the long middle part, and it's the hardest to live through. This is where the real trials happen. The hero doesn't know yet if he's going to make it. They fail sometimes. They get tested by people who seems to be mentors and turn out to be something else. They lose things along the way, not just gain them. Frodo nearly loses himself entirely to the ring before the end. Luke loses a hand and find out the truth about his father in the same afternoon. This phase is where most of the actual pain of the story lives. Return is the hero coming back, but not as the same person who left. They're carrying something now. A scar, a piece of wisdom, a changed way of seeing the world. That they didn't have at the departure. And a lot of the time, the return isn't some clean, triumphant thing. It's heavier than that. Frodo comes back to the Shire, but he can't fully settle there anymore. not after what he's seen. The transformation cost him something real. But what actually blew my mind away, and that's the reason I want to talk about it with you today. Campbell noticed something else in these stories. The villain, almost every time, goes through the exact same three phases. Same kind of departure, something taken away from them, some door closed against their will, same kind of brutal initiation. The difference was never the shape of the journey, it was always what they decided to carry out of it and what they decided to do once they returned. Now I want to spend some time with the anime I grew up with as a child, because there's something in it I think that's very important, and not just my nostalgia talking. These shows, in particularly Naruto, Dragon Ball, they're made for kids, yes. And in Japan, this kind of story is taken seriously as a way to teach children something about how to live, not just entertain them for 20 minutes. That's the whole shonen tradition. You're watching a fight, but underneath you're being taught something about effort, about pain, and what you actually do with this pain or this lesson. For me, Naruto is the clearest version of this I know. There is a character in that show, Nagato, who goes by Pain later on. Orphan, war-torn village, watched people he loved died right in front of him. And what it takes from all of that is one belief: humanity can only understand each other from shared pain. So he decides to make the whole world suffer the way he did. And Naruto, the hero, has almost the same childhood. Orphan too, rejected by his village for something that was never his fault. And when the two of them actually stand in front of each other, Naruto doesn't have a clean answer. He even admits that some of what Nagato's saying is true. The world really did fail both of them. But he refuses the conclusion anyway. In his own way, he says, "Yeah, I get it. I felt some of what you felt, and that's exactly why I'm not going to make anyone else feel it." And that's a kids show, teaching that directly on screen. But there is a third kind of character I really want to talk to you about, because I'm passionate about it. And it's actually the most useful in real life. It's the one who's not the villain, not the hero, the one who starts on one side and switches. And for me, the best example is Vegeta in Dragon Ball. Comes in as a straight up villain, wants Goku dead, wants the planet under him, wants total domination. And then he falls in love with the human, he begins fighting alongside the people he once wanted to destroy. Something shifts. He doesn't go soft, he stays proud, he stays competitive, but the direction changes. Where he put his energy changes. Sasuke's is the same shape in Naruto. He goes fully dark for a long stretch of the story, chasing revenge in the way that cost him almost everything, and still eventually comes back. And for me, I think that's the version I love the more, because it's more interesting that the hero versus villain split. Because most people don't wake up one day and pick a side forever. You can spend years reacting like a villain, bitter, guarded, out of yourself after something legitimately unfair happened, and still turn it around. The fork isn't one moment. You can cross back over it. Okay, Ivan, but what it has to do with being an actor? Let me tell you, this career is going to hand you low blows. And I'm not pessimistic, it's just what 15 years in this industry taught me. and I want to actually walk through a few versions of it because it helps to see the fork in real situations, not just as an idea or a concept. Okay, so you put yourself on tape for a role you were really perfect for. Weeks go by, nothing. Not one mail, not one call, nothing. Then you find out someone with half of your experience got the role because they knew someone. That's a low blow. Nobody warned you it was coming. And that's real. That's a reality. Or maybe you trust someone in this industry enough to share where you're struggling, and later you find out they repeated it with other people to show your weakness in a way that made you look weaker than you actually are. That's a betrayal you didn't see coming from someone you'd let them close. Or maybe you watch someone you came up with. Same classes, same auditions, same waiting rooms for years, get the break you'd been working towards. And some parts of you has to sit with that, right in the middle of being happy for them. None of these are rare. If you stay in this long enough, you'll live some version of every one of them. You can't dodge all of it. What you can control is what you do with it once it's happened. And I don't think people take that choice seriously enough. Because in the heat of the moment, it doesn't feel like a choice at all. It feels just like reacting. It's not, that's the actual fork. And I want to share something that happened to me a few years ago because I think about it through this lens now. I'd co-founded a theater company and it's been 10 years since this company existed. One day on a Zoom call, talking about the next play we wanted to put up, someone said out loud, "Yeah, we want to do the play, just not with you in it." I took that hard. I'm not trying to make them the villain of this story. There been tension in the company for a while before that call, so honestly, it wasn't a total surprise. What I actually want to talk about is what I felt in this moment. So, when I heard that out loud in a Zoom meeting, in front of everyone, that was like a punch in the gut. Afterward, I went through something that looked a lot like grief. Anger first. Then something closer to resentment, some bargaining in my own head, and eventually acceptance. Because that was 10 years of my life closed in one call. That's actually the moment I pivoted into screen acting. So in a way, this door closed on my face was actually the beginning of a new chapter for me. With an exit like that, I could have gone a certain way. Turn mercenary about work, take the job, get out, don't get attached. I could have gotten bad. I could have gotten suspicious by default and not trust anyone anymore. That path is real, and I could have gone about it. I watched other actors go down it. It's not a stupid reaction. It's actually a completely logical one, and mostly if pain is the one thing you're working from. But what I did, I put the energy somewhere else, into working on myself, really understanding what happened, not just replaying how it felt, and eventually into building the ACT Club. So other actors who go through some version of it don't have to fall into every hole I fell into. I'm still learning it, honestly, the same way the hero in these stories is still learning always. Still one level behind where they need to be for the next big fight. I'm searching for my next Super Saiyan experience, you know? You're never finished. You just keep choosing. Every time it gets hard again. So here it comes. The real question. You're going to get hurt in this industry. Not might, you will. The wound is basically guaranteed. What's not guaranteed is what you build out of it. You can decide the industry owes you something for what it took. Get quietly bitter, competitive in a way that stops being about the work and start being about you're trying to prove something to people who aren't even thinking about you anymore. Or you can take the exact same pain and point it somewhere else, toward getting better, toward becoming someone other actors can actually trust, specifically because you know what it's like to be treated badly and decided not to pass it forward. Same wound in both versions. The only difference is where you aim it. And as a die-hard fan of Star Wars, I want to end with one example which holds three of these stages in a single lifetime. Anakin Skywalker. Anakin's departure happens when he's a kid, born into slavery into a desert planet, taken from his mother by people who see potential in him, but never really ask what he wants. That's already a wound before the story even gets going. His initiation is the entire prequel trilogy. Losing his mother in a way he couldn't stop. Feeling used by an order that trained him but never fully trusted him. The one person who actually seems to see his pain, the Emperor, offer him a simple trade. Your pain is real. The people who claim to care about you failed you. Power is the only thing that will make sure it never happens again. That's the villain's logic, offered to him directly at the exact moment he's most wounded. And he takes the deal. Spoiler alert! He becomes Darth Vader. That's most of two trilogies living as the villain. Not a phase, a long stretch of an actual life. And the return only happens because his son refused to give up on him, even after everything. Luke stands in front of a man who's done monstrous things and still says, I know there's still good in you. Anakin makes the turn back. Save his son, dies doing it. Hero, then villain, then the one who finds his way back. All three in one lifetime. And it took him almost the whole thing to get there. And that's the point I actually want to leave you with. Hard things are coming. That's guaranteed. Which one of these you become isn't decided once. It's decided every time it gets hard again. And even if you've gone a few rounds as the villain, the way back is still there. If any of this landed and you want a real practical way to actually start working on this, not just thinking about it, my wife put together a meditation specially for actors to calm and regulate the nervous system. You can find it there. It went out past Sunday. It's a simple tool for exactly this kind of moments. The ones where you can actually starting to drift in the wrong direction. That meditation is a way to notice it happening, and that creates a separation. So you can actually come back before it sets any deeper. So go check it out, please. And notice this week if there is a moment where you can feel yourself leaning the wrong way. You can always turn back. So think about it. Are you the hero? Are you the villain? Or are you the antagonist who was a villain but on his way to becoming a hero? In either way, we're in this together, so you can hit subscribe, allow notification, so we can create a community to people building something better. Until then, please join the club because we all deserve happiness. Ciao.